Today we are going to take a look at Celeborn and Galadriel. You may have heard of them from Lord of the Rings, but did you know they have a long and intense history? Let's dive deep on where it all started. Their origin was compared in earlier drafts to the Lord of the Rings Appendix B. Galadriel is known to go east into the mountains and Beleriand alone, even through the Fellowship of the Ring, but a later version appeared in the appendices saying they went to the mountains together. Galadriel was the daughter of Finarfin, who was the second son of Indus as well as the sister of Finrod Felagund. She was born in Valinor and had no peace from within. Proud, strong, and self-willed, like all of the other descendants of Finwë, maybe aside from Finarfin, and especially Finrod her brother, she had dreams of ruling lands from far away, but also had a noble and generous spirit which came from the Vanir. She had a strong reverence to the Vala she couldn't forget. Her name, Galadriel, is Telerian in form, meaning made of a glittering coronal. Galadriel had an incredible insight into other people's minds and judged them with mercy and understanding, maybe except with Valinor, with whom she had perceived a darkness she hated and feared. She withheld her goodwill. Galadriel met Celeborn in Doriath. He was grandson of Elmo, the brother of Thingol. She didn't go west at the downfall of Melkor for the love of Celeborn and some pride of her own, as they refused to leave Middle-earth. His name, Teleporne, is also Telerian in form, like Galadriel's, meaning silver tree. It was also known to be named after the white tree of Valinor. Instead, they went to Eriador, where there were many grey elves and green elves, and dwelt in Lake Nenuyel, Evendim, north of the Shire, for a little bit. Celeborn and Galadriel were regarded as Lord and Lady of the Eldar. Galadriel became aware of Sauron being left behind. She had perceived of him being evil before he even had a name. Then, around 700 Second Age, she and Celeborn went east to Noldor, realm of Eregion. Galadriel may have chosen it because she knew of the dwarves of Khazad-dûm, or Moria, and looked upon them with great esteem, as they were the finest ones to pit against the orcs. She had a natural sympathy greater than that of many of the Eldar, as she was a Noldor. She and Celeborn had Celebrimbor, a Noldorin craftsman, who was also one of the survivors of Gondolin. He had an obsession with crafts similar to that of the dwarves. After the building of Ostinedel, the chief city in Eregion, in 750 Second Age, Galadriel's and Celeborn's powers had grown. Assisted by the friendship with the dwarves of Moria, Galadriel came into contact with Lorinand on the other side of the Misty Mountains. In Eregion, Sauron posed as an emissary of the Valar that were giving aid to the elves. Galadriel scorned but permitted him to remain in Eregion. Galadriel defended against Sauron and Lorinand, and Sauron left Eregion in 1500 with Celebrimbor corrupted, as he had accepted Sauron as what he was until he discovered the existence of the One Ring. After Celebrimbor repented, hiding the 3 rings, Sauron's wrath was revealed, and he began invading Eriador from the south, besieging Eregion. Galadriel and Celeborn had great access to the great Nandorin realm on the other side of the mountains, which was where Lorien was. They had went to Moria in 1300 Second Age through Lorinand. However, after the failing of the light of Valinor, Galadriel refused the Valar's orders to stay in Valinor and came under the doom of Mondos even after an assault upon the Teleri. She was still moved by pride, especially around the time when she was fighting directly against Feanor and after the final overthrow of Morgoth. Thus, she refused to leave Middle-earth. Finally, Galadriel had a strong longing for sea, which grew so strong that she had desired to leave Lorien to go there. However, she went to Imladris, seeking Celeborn, where they dwelt for a long time. After they left there, they went to the little inhabited lands and eventually dwelt in Belfalas, which was eventually called Dol Amroth. While Celeborn and Galadriel were preparing to depart and leave Middle-earth, they welcomed Amroth, but were unwilling to wait for Nimrodel, as her coming seemed beyond hope. If she came through the settled lands of Gondor, she would not be molested, and might receive help, for the men of Gondor are good, and they are ruled by descendants of the elf friends of old who can still speak tongue after a fashion, but in the mountains are many unfriendly men and evil things. Then, the year was approaching autumn, and by the time it came, there was a large storm. Many of the ships of men were lost after being swept by the Bay of Belfalas. Amroth was already far from land, and he cried out for Nimrodel, but no one ever saw him again after that. The people of Lorien were even, and Sylvan elves were ruled by Sindarin princes. Elrond went west and established Imladris, which is now Rivendell, but Celeborn went to Lorien to keep Sauron from crossing the Anduin by fortifying it. He rejoined Galadriel in Lindon after Sauron withdrew to Mordor. During the Third Age, the fading years of the Eldar, Celeborn and Galadriel went to Lorien and stayed there with Amroth to learn about Mirkwood and the dark stronghold in Dol Guldur. They dwelt there after the disaster of Moria, but they didn't take any title of king and queen and were guardians. However, they were called the Lord of Lady of Lothlorien after Amroth perished in Third Age 1981. Lothlorien received the Fellowship of the Ring with various travelers on a quest in Third Age 3019 during the War of the Ring. Galadriel was especially attentive to Frodo the Ring-bearer. Frodo offered her the One Ring, and she resisted it successfully. She sent the Fellowship off with these gifts, including Aragorn with the Elf Stone, which she and her daughter Celebrian learned and created, by Celebrimbor in Eregion to remember the lost Elf Stone, Gimli a single strand of her hair, which was his request, and later 3 strands, and Gandalf a new staff, reclothing and refurnishing. Celeborn offered guidance and boats for the Anduin. After the Galadriel repelled Dol Guldur 3 times, he took the fortress across Anduin, while Galadriel threw down its walls, purifying the forest. After the destruction of the ring, Celeborn and Galadriel went to Aragorn and Arwen's wedding and returned to Lothlorien shortly after.